Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for all the support just to begin with. It's really cool to see the channel growing. We're up to like 790 people or thereabouts now. And I just keep on thinking that if that's like a room full of people, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that you guys want to hear my ideas on jiu-jitsu. So thank you so much. Secondly, if you want to join the Discord server, if you don't, then that's no worries. But if you do, you get to interact with me, send me messages, and then ask ideas and video suggestions and so on and so forth. Potentially even have your own analyzed. But if you don't want to, that's okay. But if you do, the link's down below. I'll try and put like a permanent link in for you guys. So this is the match I've been looking forward to the most. It's Meregali. Hang on, sorry. Where's my window gone? Meregali versus Rocha. Now, I don't know if I'm going to need to change the color of my mouse pointer. We'll see how we go. How do we do that? Yeah, cool. So I'm going to find out how to get it back to red, and then we'll go from there. So we've got Meregali versus Rocha. Meregali is obviously very good, but both of these guys are. And from what I understand, Meregali does like a really nice pass in this particular match. So let's get into it. So we start off, I think these guys are trying to put on a show. Wagner seems like the type of dude that is sort of a businessman as well nowadays, as well as just loving the sport. So the pre-fight interview kind of got a bit heated. Meregali also knows the game and kind of trash talks, but then after the match is always super respectful. So interesting posture with Meregali with this. I'm gonna have to do this, aren't I? Yeah. Okay. Interesting posture with Meregali with his right shoulder there. Actually, he doesn't seem to be engaging, and he's kind of like almost doing a like the boxing shoulder. I don't know boxing. I'm sorry, guys. So it's kind of interesting to see how he's defending like the tackles, and then he's kind of almost like shucking off pummeling attempts and clubbing attempts and so on and so forth. And so you can see how he's definitely respecting Rocha with like the flinching, and he's keeping everything in tight. He's not risking much. And so Wagner also is respecting Meregali by backing away so much. And so it's kind of interesting because Meregali kind of looks like a stalking animal, doesn't he? Where he's got a little bit more confidence now, because you see how his body language, if we play it, is very defensive, even though he's stalking forwards. And then he gets this club in, and Wagner doesn't do anything but defend it, right? And so after this, you can see he's gets a little bit looser and he goes a bit taller. His knees come up a little bit, and he's risking more with all that space. It risks more, and now he's coming forward a bit faster. So I think he's bought himself a little bit of confidence by Wagner always backing up, whereas Wagner engaged and forced the push forwards, then backed away. Meregali might be a bit more hesitant still. So they're into this pommel position. I like what I'm seeing here. So you see Meregali, when he clubs in with his right hand there, he does this thing where he's he goes over the top first for a club in, then Wagner gets like an underhook, so Meregali kills it with a whizzer, immediately tries to club in again as Wagner's rotating around the outside because the underhook was low, so that it's not that much of a threat, and then Meregali can get control over the head, right? Then he comes in again, gets that club in, and now watch what he does here. He's jamming and then jamming and then jamming, like little tugs with his head. What that will do is it will strain the muscles in Wagner's back, and it kind of opens up opportunities. So a couple of things. Firstly, the snap down, if he goes too low, Meregali will come over the top and sprawl down and out on Wagner. If he goes too tall, Meregali will go down and in for a tackle. This foot's primed for a foot sweep. All sorts of things. So you see how he's bobbing Wagner's head. At the very least, what that does is it strains Wagner's back muscles and makes it harder to to like it starts to wear him out, you know. And so we're in this. I think Wagner knows that he's not as good as Meregali, and I don't think age plays that much of a factor, especially when you're both on gear. But Wagner definitely knows he's not as good, you know. So it's hard fighting someone that you're not as good as, and that's not to say you can't pull out a win. It's just to say that it's an uphill battle, you know what I mean? So like, be kind of 35, 65% chance of winning. Oh, very nice, but kind of sloppy, to be honest with you. So we get into this thing where Meregali has like a tight whizzer, and that's kind of shutting down what Wagner's doing. And this is something that Craig Jones likes to do a lot from an overwrap and controlling the far side wrist, is that he'll switch the hips into the far side and go like Toshi on the outside of the leg, sweeping both legs out the way and then dropping the shoulder like in as he lifts the elbow tall and over the top. And it ends up being a really nice takedown. And you can also do this thing where you like Uchi, like what Meregali does. And so it, like, from here, what should be happening, and it is kind of happening, because like I've been in similar situations, and if you watch my video where I, like the Banter Jits episode 5, purple is the color of takedowns, I have this exact leg positioning. I was looking at that video, I'm like, oh, that's sloppy too. Meregali should be trying to go taller with the heel, much taller with the heel, and he should be having much more rotation with his head in theory. This hop in with the foot is really good, because in judo, when I was taking lessons in it, you can hook in and then hop yourself further through, but this positioning of the knee is not as good as if it were right up the middle, you know. But sometimes you have to do the best you can. So you can see Meregali's hopping in, and he loses control over that far side hand, whereas if he just committed to keeping it, they would both fall, if that makes sense, because right now the only thing keeping Wagner up is this hand. So Meregali puts his hand down as he loses balance, because it was just a bit too far away for this to really work, and Wagner defends it really, really nicely. So like, a good attempt for a jiu-jitsu player, basically. If this was judo, we'd be like, nah, that was terrible. I like this. So they were kind of at a stalemate here, where you know, we get the club in, because Meregali's taller, right? You can see them. They're both hunched, but there's a pretty substantial difference in height, right? And so Wagner goes for this Marcelo wrap. Marcelo loves the 2-on-1. It's very, very difficult to control, and you can't actually really do much to attack if you're Nicholas here. But you can't do much to defend if you're Wagner. So it's kind of like an impasse where you sacrifice control over the wrist for control over the head, but in reality, this is kind of stronger than controlling the head right now, because there's nothing really stopping Rocha from just jamming that out the way and with his left hand reaching for the leg, because Merengali's right hand is committed to pummeling on the head. And so we get to this position where they're like at an impasse and they back away. It's very nice wrestling skills. Beautiful defense. So Wagner just tests. You know, he's pummeling backwards and forwards, and everyone says that this type of thing's boring, but to be honest with you, this is really high level jiu-jitsu, and you can see here Meregali was ready. That's why he was keeping that hand in, like tucked across his body, and then hand in and tucked down, so that he can extend it, block the hips, drop this hip on the rotation in, kick the leg backwards. The tackle's done. Wagner knows that that's a waste of energy, so he just lets go. Now he does have an opportunity, Wagner, that is, to keep on pummeling that elbow tall, step this one further through, and then re-grab with the same hand for the single leg, but he opts not to do that, instead trying to get an underhook, and he opts not to do that. And so you can see these guys are just feeling each other out, you know, like I've spoken before about this as well, where the first couple of minutes of a grappling match are always very frenetic, and you don't want to risk too much because you might end up losing on accident. Just because the other person's fresh and can blitz you. And so it doesn't really matter how good you are. You can be Gordon Ryan, and if you get blitzed and get caught, that's how you lose, right? Which is why these boys try and bring it into their own game. You can see how Wagner is once again, Meregali is once again like pummel tapping Wagner's head down. And so like this kind of like colliding away, what I'm trying to talk about, I'm distracting myself, sorry, is very common for these high-level matches because you don't want to risk too much because they both know that when you're fresh, the athleticism can really overcome technique and proficiency and timing very, very quickly. It doesn't matter who you are, especially when these guys are roughly the similar level, you know. And so people like fucking white belts, the worst for this. Blue belts are the fucking absolute worst, and purple belts, because like you, as a blue belt and a purple belt, you know enough jiu-jitsu to understand what's going on, but you don't know jiu-jitsu, if that makes sense. You don't understand jiu-jitsu. You know jiu-jitsu, you don't understand jiu-jitsu. And so you go, fucking, they're not doing anything, they're just running away from each other, without really understanding what you're talking about. So everyone always says that this type of thing's boring, but to be honest with you, this is a beautiful ballet of skill. What these boys are doing, and like the decision making that they're going for, and when to disengage and when to re-engage and so on and so forth, is an incredibly high display of skill. And to be honest with you, if you are the type of person that goes, this is boring, I would really challenge you on that to suggest, hey, maybe see what they're doing and then try it, because like see if it increases your longevity when you roll with your own coaches or those training partners that always beat you on the wrestles. Have a look at what these boys do and then try and emulate them. And like I'd really challenge you to really consider, actually no, this isn't boring, what makes this not boring, and then you will accelerate in your learning. You can see Wagner's really focused. Like, look at his face. Hang on. I was taught how to use the keys in the comments. Look at me go. So, look at his face. He's super, super focused. And you see how he kind of looks a little bit worried. I love what he's doing though. See how his eye line? He's maintaining focus on Meregali's face, and he's using his peripherals to focus on what's going on, which is exactly what you need to be doing, because you don't want this thing where you're looking down. You start looking down, watch me for a second. You look down, your head tilts. You look up, look down, your head tilts. Something as simple as just this type of head tilt will let you have like a head snap down, and then you'll lose, basically. Something as simple as that can make you lose against Meregali. And so you see how Meregali was still defending, you know, defending, and it heats up a little bit. I don't know. That felt risky to me, to be honest with you. That felt risky to me, what Meregali were doing. With this hand here and like the body turn, like this here, this posture with this leg forwards, feels really risky because he rotates his whole body in and tries to pummel a shoulder to the chest. Like, that is giving Rocha the perfect crowding inside space that wrestlers talk about all the time. Where Rocha is right now is where you want to be if you're wrestling someone, and Meregali just gave him that for free. So all Rocha needs to do now is like drop his posture and with his left hand grab the leg and then just drive. And he's threatening takedowns all of a sudden. And maybe that's not true because Meregali wants to go for this far side underhook, but you see how Rocha's going tall with his hand, so it's really hard to pummel it down and through for an arm drag, and that's a long distance to go, and you end up just pulling them around your back. So I don't like this from Meregali at all. I think that's really risky. Of course the Warriors in the ring know better than me, and he's much better than I am, but I can't get behind that. I can't get behind that at all. And and he keeps on doing it. Like, I just have a feeling like every single time, say if he tried this against Craig Jones, because Craig Jones is really fucking good at his judo and his wrestling, like really good. Or he tried it with Nicky Rod, for example, who's super explosive. Watch this back shoulder. You see how it came in? Hang on, where's me period key? That's forwards, and go backwards. See, I'm learning, guys. I am learning. Every time he goes forwards, right there, on that way in, Nicky Rod would just be snatching on this leg, because Merengali's weight is forwards. So there's not much he could do to change weight back into this back leg and then shift this leg out the way before Nicky Rod snatches that and runs with it. So I don't like that. And you see how Meregali had to back away anyway. And so he's... I can't get behind it. Sorry, guys. And so I think Wagner Rocha just needs to be a little bit more aggressive, to be honest with you, because the mistakes Merengali's making with his wrestling here are pretty substantial. For example, this body positioning here, look at how the center line towards the other person, Merengali's committing a cardinal sin. Now, I understand that judo is not wrestling, and I understand wrestling is not judo, but the principles remain the same. And my judo coach has been doing judo longer than my parents have been alive, you know. He only stopped because he had a fucking heart attack on the mats. Don't ever cross your feet. This is a pretty standard rule, don't ever cross your feet. And of course, when you understand the rules, you can break the rules, but... and like this sort of hip turn while you're crossing your feet over with an underhook means that if Wagner just shuffle steps in with his outside leg first, taps this one on its way, and then shucks the shoulder, Merengali's going flying forwards. And then even though he has the hand, Wagner just needs to like latch around the legs and drive the fuck out of it, and he'll have a takedown. And so I don't like what I'm seeing at all from Meregali, and I think that like, again, guys, it's possible that I just don't understand, because he is much better than me, but I am pretty fucking good at jiu-jitsu, and this is antithetical to everything that I've been taught. And so Wagner is clearly worried about this match. You know, he's clearly worried about this match when he should just have a go. I like what I'm seeing with Meregali now, because he's maintaining that distance again. But he's taking these huge risks because Wagner is kind of allowing. I speak about this a lot when I do my like technique videos, is that if you believe the other person when they tell you they're winning and like tell you, Meregali right now with his body language and the way he's conducting himself in this match is telling Wagner, hey, I'm winning, I'm better than you, I'm going to win. And Wagner is kind of believing that. And so he's always backing away, he's always backing away, he's always backing away. And he sees these massive opportunities and he's going, that's clearly a trick because you're better than me. You're telling me you're better than me, so it's a trick, what am I missing? When in reality, it's usually not a trick. Usually the person on the other side is just making a massive fucking mistake or lying to you. And so if you just capitalize on it and go for it, more often than not, you end up further ahead than if you hadn't. And so, you know, Wagner should just be more aggressive in this position. But... you know, you see how he's always backing away, and he tries, and like, he believed Meregali with the defense. What was that? Look. He's backing away. He goes for the grab. Meregali has shitty ass fucking positioning with his hand. Wagner's got the inside space so nicely. Look at this. He can pummel wrap in for the single leg, and he can drive the fuck out of Meregali, and he decides not to because Meregali has a hand in the way. And so he just believes him. And he goes, yeah, okay, no, you're right. No, you had that. You had that, you should have gone for that. And I understand that when you're wrestling with people, it can feel really heavy, but it's all in your head. It's usually all in your head. These boys aren't so big that you can't lift their weight, especially when you're both on gear like these guys are. They would comfortably deadlift 200 kgs or 400 pound, comfortably. Maybe not comfortably, but they would be able to do it. And so, like, when these guys are only 100 kgs each, you can lift that 100% and you can drive through that. Because I know the argument is, well, yeah, Josh, but they're driving against you. It's like, yeah, but you're driving against them. And if you don't believe them and just have a fucking go, more often than not, you win. And this is kind of what made Hodger really good, is that he just didn't give a fuck what you were doing. He would just do his game. Kind of what makes Gordon Ryan really good too, is he doesn't give a fuck what you're doing. He just does what he does. And so we're into this overwrap position again. Merengali's kind of bullying Wagner by, like, wrenching him around. And, it's very, very difficult to, I don't like what I'm seeing with his elbows flaring. But again, it's whatever. The distance management is kind of really good. So there's less risk to flaring these elbows, but I'd still like to see them T-Rex arming. Tiny hands. What we just saw. Hang on, comment. I forgot your name, I'm sorry. I'll give you a shout out in the description. Where are we at to? Yeah, you see how Wagner is flaring his elbow, then he drops it in? He shouldn't be flaring wide to reach. He should be like a praying mantis reaching. There's a mistake because it allows arm drags and tackles and opens up space and things like this. So we have a little bit of a scramble. Nothing much happens. They just collide off each other again. I think Wagner got poked in the eye. Skip, 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 skip. Okay. It happens. I mean, you can see on my eye, it happened to me the other day. Back into the match. Again, Wagner's... I don't know, man. I get not wanting to lose. I really do get not wanting to lose. And I get resetting it, and it's a really good idea. But you can't be running away forever. You cannot be running away from your opponent forever. And there is strategy to play when you're against someone you think is better than you. But just because you think you might lose is not a reason to avoid a fight. It's not a reason to avoid it. And again, it's running away. The problem that I have with what Wagner's doing is he's running away without even trying to set up an attack. He's just running away, and then he's neutral, and then he runs away, and then he's neutral. He's not even fucking trying to set up attacks, and when he kind of does go for it, it's always half-hearted, and he never gets there, so he's kind of coming across as a blue belt who's just started wrestling with his coach, almost. But Merengali's making some pretty big openings for him that he's just not taking advantage of because he's worried by it. And again, it's hard to not be worried by Meregali. It's Merengali, But if you're in the match, have a go. Look, down the bottom, judge's favour. It's Meregali. I don't know what the 2 is. Maybe that's guaranteed win, I guess, if it's judge's favour, or maybe that's just showing how many times the judges voted on the favour, even if it's a draw, so that because it sometimes it's easy to just judge on the last 30 seconds of a match and forget what happened in the middle. So if they're yeah, no, we favour this at set points in the match, even if Wagner decides to really push the pace in the last 2 minutes, it'd be easy to see, hey, actually, no, Meregali did better than him. And so we get this really tight clinch pummel, and Merengali's doing this good job of wrapping and pulling down and being heavy. So his hand on the back of the head, hand on the back of the shoulder, and just wrenching down. Very difficult for Wagner to deal with. Beautiful trip attempt, and so close to getting around the back. This is the first bit of life I've seen out of Wagner this whole fucking match. this trip attempt, Wagner steps out of it really nicely, and then Merengali's off balance, and you see how, yeah, this duck under, beautiful. Step wide, dive for the back, and Wagner finally takes advantage of like a mistake and tries to go for it. Merengali's turning. What should probably be happening now is Wagner should recognize that his hips are too far away from the back. That's a long way to go. So what he should be doing is, instead, as Merengali's turning to face him, he should be squatting and with his far side hand reaching for the knee. He should just squat and tackle. But he keeps on keeping on with trying to go for the back, and so the decision making gets him there. Beautiful work, Meregali. Oh, I went too far, sorry. So this elbow flared is what Meregali was trying to do before. So now I guess I can't understand this idea behind the body positioning, because Wagner Rocha's position's all shot to hell, right? He's not prepared. He's flaring his own elbow for Meregali. So what Meregali gets to do, is arm drag. You can see how he catches, and he's going to pull through. And then as he pulls through, so that was beautiful, beautiful work. Look at me still learning. Thank you, comment section. Oh, it's too far. I fucked it. Sorry. Here we go. We're just going to try and pause it as we go, and then I'll match it. So what happens with Meregali is he uses this hand. He gets the arm drag position, and then he pummels the hand through. There you go. He pummels the hand through. You can see. And let's try it again. Oh, I love this new tip and trick. You can see. So he pummels the hand all the way through. And as he's going, he like throws it so that as he pulls, this other hand can come down to the leg. And then he misses it because Wagner like dives out of it. So very good defense by Wagner. And Meregali setting up that positioning again. Does it again. Ow. Ow. Fuck me, dude. So, yeah, so I understand that positioning a lot better now. Kind of seems like something you should only really do when the other person's tired, though. I maintain that wasn't good before, even though it's good now. I maintain that. And so Meregali gets this hip wrap, and the only way Wagner thinks to get out of it is just to do a fucking forward roll. And I'm surprised he didn't just crush his own fucking rib cage, because I've done that before and I've popped in a costal, and it's not a great time. So arm drag, and then Meregali reaches for that back hip, gets it, and then Wagner just fucking dives. Meregali settles, and now we're into the wrestling. So that's Wagner kind of took himself down there. And so Meregali passed around the side. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. In the comment section, the match starts around now. Again, coming back to that challenge of try and actually look at what they're doing for the wrestling, because you do not want to be Wagner in this position. And if you don't know what they're doing in the wrestling at the start, you will always be Wagner in this position, then you will always lose, and then you will wonder why you're never very good, is the bottom line. Sticky hooks, Damien. And so Meregali passes. I like this particular idea of controlling the hips, because he does the job of controlling the priority knee as well as the top knee shield as he's got the head wrap. So he's like pulling in and jamming as he goes, which just allows him to pass the guard. Now, again, oftentimes the only thing that keeps you in the guard is you. The only thing that's stopping Meregali right now is this knee and himself. This hand on his knee and himself. So he just passes around, because he recognizes that the pull through with his body, with his arms, and like the shuffle with his body is not going to be stopped by a single hand, you know. And so he sits here, settles the position. How many of you would be tempted to kick this leg off the top to go into like a side control on the far side to attack the back? It kicks off the top and then controls the leg. I don't know why he's allowing a deep half, but understand this decision making from Meregali. So I don't understand why he would put his foot in the middle. That doesn't make sense to me. Maybe he wants to prove that he can pass the guard again. In reality, in my mind, what he should be doing here is with his right hand, he should be pummeling across the belly to the floor, leading his head into that space, and then kicking this leg around the corner so that it's really, really hard for Wagner to roll to his belly and then around the corner with the wrestle up, if that makes sense. But instead he decides to put his foot back in the guard for some fucking reason and then ends up having to pass the guard again. Weird decision making. It's weird decision making to me. Very nice pass, and I think he... Gosh, no. Very nice pass. So I imagine he probably put himself back in the guard to prove a point, but as my coach used to say, winning's always enough. Now, this is really, really nice. So this is like a headquartersy type position, whatever the fuck that means. It means a knee cut type position. He's more on a smash pass because Wagner's hips, you can see how they're rotated away from Meregali, or to like Merengali's right. If they were rotated to Merengali's left, it would be knee cut. Right now, it's smash pass. And now he can do what's called a Newton's cradle pass attempt. So Meregali has a control of the shoulder, he has control of the knee, which keeps encouraging Wagner Rocha's hips up, which means it's hard to follow with the inside leg. And what Meregali does is he stacks up, goes wide with his foot, and then comes back in and smashes Wagner's leg with the inside of his thigh as he hops out and off the top. And it's very, very nice. Very nice pass. Now you can see how he's continuing to control that because he doesn't want... he's actually allowed a regard here because he smashed in on the shin rather than on the thigh. And so now he has to keep on controlling that far side knee so he can get around the corner. And now as Wagner's going, Wagner makes a mistake of allowing this arm to be straight along. So we're here. Wagner's making a mistake now with his right hand. The elbow is flared. If we back this up a second, hang on. There we go. This elbow remains flared instead of tucking into the belly. So because of this, because it's still flared, what ends up happening as Nicholas gets to the side control, his elbow stops in front of the forearm. And that's largely the only thing that's stopping Wagner right now from rolling is this arm here. Because he left the elbow flared, basically. And so that's a huge mistake. Meregali gets to chomp on it. I don't know what is with that sometimes. He chomps it back. He gets the side control with an underhook. And so he gets... I like what I'm seeing here from him as well. You notice there's a lot to go on. Sorry, guys. There's a lot to comment on. So I'm trying not to get distracted too much. But he gets this really nice side control with like an underhook. A crossface and cleared elbow. Then he gets the underhook. Now, what I like that he's done here is he gets this underhook position and drives across the body and then rotates himself back towards the hips so he can control the hips. Because Wagner can walk the hips away and then get to turtle anyway, even though he has this deep underhook. And then Meregali has to move with it, and in moving, he opens up space and he opens up opportunity. By walking preemptively and attaching himself to the hips, if Wagner was to, for example, roll to turtle now, he would drag Meregali into the back control, because Meregali could put his backside knee on the ground. So his like hip here, knee here, backside leg on the ground, foot like so, and he'd be able to pivot off of the knee and rotate in for the first hook, and then he would have the first hook of the back control, and then he would have the short order to put this foot over the top. And so it's a very, very nice, and you can see that he's opening up the space now, and that's exactly what I was talking about. If this knee was back here, he'd be able to pivot the hook in, for example. And so he gets to this really nice side control where he's doing like a cross-body side control, controlling the hips and the shoulders at the same time. And my coach is, very of the opinion that side control is no longer good. I disagree with him. I think side control is very good if you know what you're doing. But unfortunately, not many people know what they're doing anymore, because Nogi became so scrambly and everyone kind of went, oh, well, fucking half guard's easier. Let's do that. Side control can be very, very good if you know what you're doing. So there's a beautiful mount take. And I should actually also mention just on that, like, my coach is amazingly good. His knowledge base is significantly more than mine. Still, he's been doing jiu-jitsu longer than I've been alive. And if we could swap bodies, holy shit, he would be so fucking scary. But I still fundamentally disagree with him in the notion that side control is not very good. I think that side control done in a classical way, where if you were to stay across the shoulders, so like your head's here, your shoulders are there, your hips are here, is not very good. I think side control on a diagonal where you control the near side hip and the far side shoulder, like what Meregali is doing a clinic of right now, is very, very good, because it's effectively a half guard and you're controlling the hips, while also forcing them the need to re-guard, if this makes sense. And so I like what Meregali is doing right now is effectively a half guard, same idea. It's just Rocha's leg is not in between his now, if this makes sense. And so it's the same idea as that control we see, well, Meregali and Gordon and Danaher teach, where you want to be in a half guard, but it's doing it from a past position. It's all the same. And then this, when you get into here, this type of idea where the elbow's cleared, it's very difficult on the bottom because you don't have frames to push anymore. And now that's I should go back to the match. This clearing of the elbow is so good because now there's a huge channel across the belly that is not being protected by frames. So Meregali has a far side underhook wrap, near side underhook with his hip, and then the knee is just going to go across the belly because Wagner's knees aren't defending this space in the middle, which is just a beautiful neon belly mount. And again, Meregali doesn't care if he gets caught in a half guard because it's all the same ideas as what we've been talking about. You just get an underhook. You get an underhook. Your knee is controlling the hip. Your far side knee is controlling the hip. Wagner thinks he's in a guard because he has a quarter guard, but it's not really. Meregali is using his chest to crossface. Head's going to the floor. Underhooks are killing any reinforcement of the guard. So the legs cannot reinforce the arms. The arms can reinforce the legs. So if you deal with the arms, the guard becomes next to useless. And we get into the same idea that we always get into. Heavy pressure, control all 4 points, shoulders and hips. Weave over the top, take mount with an underhook. It's just killer, you know. I like what I'm seeing Wagner do though. You see how he's staying on his side? He's not allowing himself to be as flat. He is making a mistake of pushing up on Meregali's neck though. What he should be doing is really not big movements like he's doing at the moment. He should be putting his feet on the floor, lifting his hips, and encouraging himself onto his side and doing lots of little tiny movements and shrimps to try and find space wherever it opens up and always force himself into the available space to get these elbows back underneath. You are never going to power down through the arm. You need to change the angles ever so slightly all the time to find the minuscule amounts of space that you will get inevitably by moving. And then you just need to keep on moving all the time in tiny, tiny little movements, and not just settle. And like, for example, this is a big fucking movement, right? It's a big fucking movement. And Meregali is just going to take us back and it's going to be all over Red Rover. And so what should be happening is it should just be like up, 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 rotate, 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 rotate. Elbows coming down all the time, rather than breathe, 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 big bridge and roll. No good, because this happens. You get body locked. You get your back taken. You get choked, basically. So Merengali's done a really good job getting that back control in. I don't know why he's talking. I'm just going to skip the fucking trash talk. So I think that competition should be much more friendly. I think what should actually happen, I'll explain it at the end. Because I have a cool idea for how jiu-jitsu should be done. Meregali, or at least I think it's a cool idea, controls that in like a cross wrap. What do you call this? The straight jacket. And he's just going 2-on-1 on that top side to maintain control. Very, very difficult place to be for Wagner. So Wagner's doing a good job keeping both of Merengali's hands in underhooks, as you can see. Underhook, underhook. Very difficult place to be. Now, if you're Wagner, but he's doing a great job of preventing chokes for now. And you can see how it looks like he's not doing much with his hands. But if we rewind 5 seconds, he's keeping his wrists away from Meregali because Meregali doesn't have the reach to grab them. And if Wagner knows if Meregali grabs the wrists, it becomes a much harder battle. And so for now, he's actually pretty safe. And you can see how immediately he brings the hands back in when Meregali comes over the top. But Meregali immediately capitalizes and takes hold of the wrist. Now we're back into this impasse. And it's a very difficult position, and Wagner kind of didn't respond to that, and now does another big movement. Once again, escape should actually be kind of consistent small movements rather than singular big movements, because consistent small movements will force this idea where the person who's controlling you needs to readjust all the time. And if they don't readjust, they will lose the position. If they do readjust, which they need to, they open up the space available for you to start escaping with big movements. And so you should be doing work all the time. And so a really good idea for you, and for me too, actually, is get someone on your back, and just like work at having them on your back while you do lots of little movements and get that fitness up, so that when you're in this type of position, you're just in the habit of always moving all the time, right? And so Wagner should be, I know it's really hard with this, the idea behind escaping a body lock triangle, difficult with the arm wrap, but this leg of his left leg, should be coming over the top, then underneath, catching the heel and pummeling it across, because the heel will rotate, the hip will rotate, allowing the heel to cross over the top. Then you can grab it, start like pulling it off the top of the bottom leg here, and then start fucking with the heel, pushing it down, stepping your hips over the top, hip escaping, turning in. Even if Meregali has a choke by that point, because your hips are free going this way and rotating in, it becomes very, very difficult now to choke and finish, you know. And so Merengali's doing this good job. He's like super tight, doing this good job kicking Wagner's leg over the top, but Wagner still needs to be trying to turn this hip over the top, this hip underneath, and get his back to the mats. And so we're into this control position. Wagner's doing a good job now of doing lots of little movements, but then he tries big movements again, and I genuinely believe that this is the wrong idea, because you get stunted. Because the other person, if it's a big movement, they only need to do one big thing to stop you. They don't need to think about lots of little things. And so what you're basically relying on is the other person on top to be tired or to make a mistake, one mistake, whereas like instead of lots of mistakes. And so you want to give them many chances to make a mistake, because statistically, if you think about it, someone the caliber of Meregali is not likely to make a mistake on any given instance where he has an opportunity to make a mistake, if this makes sense. Let me try and rephrase. He has a percentage of like 0.001% chance to make a mistake every single time he does anything in jiu-jitsu. So you want him to do a lot of things in jiu-jitsu so that you have a lot of rolls of that dice instead of just one thing in jiu-jitsu. That looked like that hurt. You could see on his face he was not pleased. Yeah, he looked so fucking angry, dude. So, so fucking angry. He like tightens up their fucking body lock. He's like, all right, cunt, come here. A note to self, do not body slam Meregali when he's on your back. In fact, you see, there we go. We saw it. We saw Wagner with the right idea. Watch. Little movement, little movement, little movement, little movement, little movement, and Meregali has to adjust. But then he stops for some reason. Wagner stops. Should still be trying little movements. You see how with the little movements now, Meregali's not on his back. Back to mount. Not a good place to be, for sure. Better than having someone on your back with a body lock, threatening chokes. You know? And so we go to this power Nelson that we see Gordon Ryan do. And Merengali's now back on Wagner's back. And it's a difficult position because Wagner's just sort of resting. Personally, I'd rather be bottom mount, doing lots of little movements than have someone on my back. Because Wagner now has this opportunity to stay on his side. Or had the opportunity to stay on his side in the bottom of mount. Rather than be flat. And so Meregali is doing this really good job. Now, again, this I say this quite regular. This half guard is not a half guard at the moment. This is the first hook of a back control. And so you can kind of trick people if you're in Meregali's position into thinking that they're making progress, if you allow them to have the half guard, with this specific wrap where you're behind the shoulders with your chest. It is a half guard if they can get their back on the mats and start turning to face you. It is not a half guard if they're rotated away from you. It's a back control now. And so you can kind of trick people into thinking, great, cool, I've got a half guard. But if you start thinking of it in terms of, I have a back control hook, you'll have a lot more success with what you do. Now, Merengali's doing this great job of keeping his chest tight. Like he has a lot of space over here, but that's because he's got such finessed control with his right pec here, keeping that shoulder forwards of Wagner's. It's difficult. You see how he takes the back again. Body lock again, and everything's going downhill. Or as Treebeard would say, it's going south. To his credit, though, Wagner's doing really well at surviving. It's just Merengali's like really sticking to him like glue, you know. And this idea of these big movements, I can understand it because, like, when Nogi was... Humans are the fucking worst for this, right? Because we always do this thing where it's like 10 years ago was only yesterday in our minds. And so the resistance to change and change of ideas is huge. Until you get those special type of autists like Gordon Ryan, Danaher, and Meregali here that just go, yeah, I just want to win, so let's just research what wins. When Nogi first started becoming prominent, like really popular over Gi back in 2013, 2014, thereabouts, it was exciting because it's scrambly and everyone had big movements and it's like, yeah, you can't fucking hold me down because you don't have grips on the gi, so fuck you. That type of thing. And then everyone seems to still be in that mentality when it's just not true. And everyone seems to be of the opinion that you can't hold people down in side control. For my coach, for example, thinks that, genuinely thinks that. It's just not true. You can. And before you tell me you can't, we just fucking saw Meregali do it. You know, both of these guys are much better than me and they're much better than my coach. So who are we actually going to believe here? You can do it. And people go, well, it's just really hard. And I say, yes, I never said it was easy, but you can do it. And so you should learn how to do it. And the idea behind that is that the style doesn't change. Everyone thought that you needed to specialize in gi or no gi, and it's not true. You can do both with the same style, which is heavy pressure, stick to them like glue, don't panic, move around what they're doing, and keep the pressure on the whole time. So every big movement they do, they pay a really heavy cost for. Now, this idea is showcased right here, right now, and Gordon showcases this idea right here, right now. Bushesha showcased that idea. Hodja showcased that idea, and that's 20 years worth of jiu-jitsu showcasing that same idea. The idea is sound. Modern execution is not. But we're bringing it back. The modern execution is now becoming sound again, and I think we'll see it catching up in a few years again a little bit once, say for example, people like me highlight, hey, this is what they're doing, this is what you should be doing, and then everyone goes, okay, yeah, that's what wins. Of course, there will be tradition, and people are very resistant to change, but those are the people that end up coming third and second instead of winning. So, if you want to win, follow what these guys do. Anyway, back to the point, the big movements no longer work. In theory, the big movements no longer work. Little movements all the time do. And we see that showcased in this match here. Whenever Wagner started doing tiny little movements, he started escaping. Whenever he did big bushka movements, he burnt energy, Meregali stayed on top. So it's food for thought. Try just doing little movements in your own sparring, see what happens. Yeah, nice. And so Meregali left that opening there. He doesn't have any fucking control over the hip, but so he allows Wagner to turn in. But because Wagner's flat now and Meregali drives the knee across the top, it's a hard yakka grind. What I would be suggesting is Wagner shouldn't be bench pressing. Instead, he should be like sticky hooking, Damien, sticky hooks, encouraging Meregali up his body with underhooks. So he should get an underhook, wrap on, encourage Meregali up as he pulls his head into the chest. And then this will help stop Meregali what he's doing, and he'll feel a little bit off balance. But no, Wagner, no. Hey guys, I've never seen this match before, and I've been teaching how to do this in my gym for fucking ages. In fact, actually, I released a video a couple of days ago that covered this exact position. If you want really good crossface and hold downs inside control, even if the other person's on their side, hands free, going to turtle, this is your jam. S grip, forearm into their face, encouraging their head back around the corner, controlling that bottom shoulder, pulling it through. Very, very tough. Very, very tough. And now, I don't know what Meregali is doing. Like, he can sit on, but to be honest with you, from here, what he should be trying to do is use his chest to encourage Wagner's elbow forwards, and then using this knee in underneath the armpit to do like a really heavy clear. And what ends up happening is the person ends up like so on their side with their head jammed out of the way, and then you can just take mount again with like a deep double underhook. This is a very, very, very strong control. Very strong control for no-gi. It's actually kind of the control that makes side control viable again. So, very good back take. Merengali's moving around what Wagner's doing. Wagner's very tired now. Again, age has nothing to fucking do with it. I'm 30, and I feel better now than I did when I was 18. And it definitely has nothing to fucking do with it when these guys are on testosterone, like gear, because they'll feel as young as they always have. Injuries have something to do with it, and like will to succeed has something to do with it. But Wagner's been moving now for 13 minutes, and he's still going pretty fucking hard. You know, he's got more gas than I do, and he's 46. So he's doing a really good job. Merengali's doing a great job of moving around him. So we'll maybe back up and I'll explain what I mean. So when we're here, Meregali just steps over the top. In my mind, he should, again, taken more time here so that he could get not over the hips and the legs, but rather over the belly, and then he would have had a much tighter control. But Wagner tries to go to his right, and like tries to sit up, and this is a great idea if Meregali stays in front of him. But Meregali instead, you can see this briefly, moves his hips around. And he starts looking to get the back, moves around what Wagner's doing instead of trying to brute force it. Ends up flattening him out, takes a gift wrap again, wins, pulls him into a back control. See how he like pulled him into a back control. It wasn't quite right as well. So this positioning, Wagner's escaping. So Meregali moves around it instead of trying to force Wagner to back in, like pulling him back in, for example. Beautiful attempt. So that's good decision making there. If Meregali was to, say, try and get this hook in, he would actually lose the back control because Wagner would raise his hips up and then like shuck Meregali forwards. So Meregali just pulls him backwards in, like uses the foot on the floor and heaves. And then because Wagner was off balance, he manages to get that hook in again, the bottom hook that is, and starts looking to attack the back. So the hook goes in, power Nelson, back into the bottom of mount. So it's really, really good display of jiu-jitsu. Meregali is very clearly better, but probably it's a bit closer than you might imagine. You know, and so I think that Meregali is trying to do like the Gordon thing nowadays of, I think actually Danaher's trying to replace Gordon, because he seems like that type of dude that'd be like, okay, you're useless to me now, next. So like with the whole, I'm going to get this submission, I'm going to write it down, and he's fucking doing like the I'm number one, grappler, etc., etc., etc. I wonder if Gordon and Meregali are going to butt heads at some point. So we get into this armbar position. Meregali crosses his feet. Really good idea because it helps you heel kick in and pinch the shoulders together, which makes the armbar tighter. And so this is a very difficult position to play now if you're Wagner. I would suggest that now's the time to be trying to escape and not when your grip breaks, though. Yeah, and so very, very tight armbar. I think Wagner's gassed. He had the opportunity to do the hitchhiker escape, the chicken run, where you see how his thumb is low. I am learning. His thumb is not up here right now. His thumb is down low. So he can twist and run. The only thing that makes this difficult, though, is the fact that his arm is still in between the legs. But there is opportunity to really bridge up and get these shoulders a bit lower and through, and then really jam this elbow down and go. But it's tight and very, very difficult. So Meregali controls, grabs the thumb, wrenches it back over the top, gets the tap. You know, like, very dominating performance. Danaher's head looks like a bullet, and Gordon the sideshow. Very dominating performance. Wagner's obviously disappointed, but you know, what can you expect? You got Meregali, who was already one of the best in the world, training with the best in the world, a room full of the best in the world with the best modern ideas and the best coaching available. You know, with one of the most experienced people on the fucking planet. So what can you expect? You know, Merengali's clearly better, and I would suggest that that's, you know, largely because Wagner was believing that he was better, so he kind of didn't actually have goes until he needed to. But you know, such is the nature of the sport. I truly believe that what we should be doing is we should be organizing a set of matches between practitioners over the course of like a week. So what should be happening is these guys should fight every single day for 7 days, and then we'll have a best of series. And then that way, you know, if you kind of get nervous and you go, oh fuck, he's really, really good, you get a feel for him. So even if you fuck it up in the first match, you can kind of see what he does and then strategize, which is kind of how chess does it. It's definitely how StarCraft does it. They do best of series. They don't do single games. And like what breeds from that, in my mind, is this idea of like healthier competition. Personally, I fucking hate steroid use in the sport because it sends a really bad message to the young athletes that they need it, and they just destroy their fucking bodies, right? And they ruin their hearts, and they ruin their like testicles, and they ruin like the kidneys and the livers, and they really fuck themselves over for life because these guys, you know, like openly proud of using gear, And so you're literally destroying lives. And then they do this thing where they beat someone once and they go, yeah, I'm fucking the best, I'm better, I'm rah. And it's like, well, no, you just beat him once. That doesn't mean you're better than he is. It means you won on the day. And so this idea of like best of series is really exciting to me because it lets you strategize with your teammates. And so it'd be pretty cool if they had like this organization where like they have like a 5-star hotel room for you and your training staff to train, and separate wings for the two teams, and then like you can go have the match in the auditorium like what we see here, and then you go away and you assess what they did, and then you practice and you drill, and then you got meals that are brought to you, and like all you have to do is assess the jiu-jitsu and practice, and then the next day you have another match, and then the next day you have another one, and that would be fucking exciting to me. But I don't know, we're stuck in this machoism of I beat you once and that means I'm better, even though we tell every single person it doesn't matter if you lose in the gym. Like it's this weird dichotomy in jiu-jitsu, and I really think that like having competition like that would be really cool. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, guys. This is a bit of a long one today. I was excited about this one. Very well done to Meregali. He's very, very good. Wagner Rocha is also very good. They both looked pretty scary. Love to see Wagner just having more of a go, though. If you'd like to join the Discord, links down below. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in if you're still at this point in the channel. I really appreciate all the support. See you next time.